Today, as Steve has mentioned, who's my peer, we're going to talk about a very powerful sales tool that all of you can leverage as partners. We call it the Microsoft Experience Center, otherwise known as MEC. And so our agenda is very high level. We want to kind of go over, provide an overview of MEC, what that means, what it means for you, what it means for your customer, what the benefits are overall, and then we'll spend some time with Steve, who you've heard from, who will talk a little bit more about, providing a demonstration of what these tool sets actually look like, and then we'll leave some time for some Q&A. Feel free in the bottom left-hand corner in the IM window. If you have questions, you can pop them there as we go through the content today. Steve, did you want to take a quick moment to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Steve Deming, located here just outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland. I am a partner technology strategist. My job is to help partners like you understand where our technology is today, where it's going in the future, and ultimately help Patrick help you better engage with Microsoft. So that's my overview.
Excellent. Perfect. So let's talk about MEC, right? And what is MEC? Really, it's really a sales tool to help accelerate the sales process. And I'm very passionate. I think Steve is as well. Many of us at Microsoft are very passionate about what MEC means to partners and customers. But really, it's just that hands-on experience, allowing a customer to really see the value that Office 365 or a CRM or a Power BI, et cetera, can really mean for their organization. And really, I've gone through the MEC training. We'll go through in more detail what that means. But I've actually gone through this experience and really seen a day in the life. And truly speaking, if you have a customer that has not seen SharePoint or seen how you can collaborate with Link or via Skype for Business, I mean, it's eye-opening when they're in the room to see all of this. And so the ability to talk about how productivity is done today, how that works in a modern office, the modern infrastructure is compelling. But we have within the MEC environment, it's such a hands-on lab for customers. I mean, we can demonstrate, or you, the partner, can demonstrate BI capabilities. You can demonstrate, real-life scenarios for specific verticals in healthcare, education, government. So it really spans the gamut. We've got all of the content available for you, and we really, truly make it simple so that you can execute and focus on that. So there's really a couple different versions of MEC, and we want to spend a little bit of time on both. First is the MEC immersion, and basically it's the target. So we have a lot of terms internally for our partners, but there's a really big push to have our partners sell to 25 or more customers, and so we call that optimized partners. And so this is really perfect for them because what it gives you is the MEC devices. So we will ship out to you once you become MEC immersion qualified. So you've gone through a training, which we'll talk in a moment of what that means. But once you get qualified, Microsoft will send you a kit of 11 laptops or tablets or 2-in-1s. It could vary, but basically it's running a demo version of Office 365. And basically what partners do is they are in a boardroom, right? And they basically have this kit, if you will, for an entire week, and they just bring customers in. Typically it could be one at a time. It could be multiple customers in one session. But typically you have 8 to 11 attendees, and you facilitate this experience, this workshop. And everyone in the room has their own persona. They have a role in this experience. One person might be the director of marketing. Another person might be the CEO. Another person might be, in charge of finance and accounting. And all of them go through specific scenarios that you can tailor to help them see and realize the value of Office 365. And so it is a phenomenal experience. We have I would say over 100 partners across the U.S. who are MEC immersion qualified. In fact, in the East region, which we may have a lot of you on this call already that are from the East region, 60% of our the top 100 cloud sellers are MEC immersion qualified. So they're leveraging this equipment, this experience to close deals. Now, on the other side, it's this classic Microsoft, right? We can do it on premise, or you can do it in the cloud, or you can do a hybrid scenario, but we always try to cater to you, the partner. But we have a MEC Demo, otherwise called MEC Lite. And this is another means where you can still provide demos to your customers, typically maybe meant for a smaller subset of customers, but you can take them through virtually that same experience. Maybe it's at their location, maybe it's at a Starbucks or a Panera Bread. But we do give both of these as an option. But a lot of you probably are wondering, well, what are the requirements? Well, for the MEC immersion, first of all, you got to be a partner, and then two, you've got to really invest and commit to becoming qualified. So it's really 3.5 days of facilitator training. It's a train-the-trainer. It's facilitated by Brainstorm, which is a trusted training partner that we recommend and leverage. And it is, but the requirements after you become a MEC immersion qualified is that you do at least 4 MEC sessions. Now, that might sound like a lot per year, but really, if we send you a kit for an entire week, the idea is pretty simple, that you're going to run, probably 2 or 3 MEC lab sessions, possibly a day, and you'll have this for the entire week. You may be able to get through, 8 to 9, if not 10 different sessions that are maybe 2 to 2 hours in duration to take these customers through those experiences. So you'll easily overachieve on that requirement every time you use the MEC equipment. So that is the requirement. We have some discounts. Get with me, get with Steve after this call if you're interested. We have some trainings that are coming up in Atlanta, Chicago, and Los Angeles. We will provide you with those with the link towards the end of the deck. The next thing that we want to talk about are really the benefits for all of you on this call. And really, it's I've gone through the MEC immersion qualification training, and it's phenomenal. Not only will you learn new features of Office 365 that you probably didn't know about, but you'll learn how to facilitate in an adult learning environment, how to really bring discussion to really help the users find and enlighten themselves on what the features actually can bring to them. But again, there's no cost to leverage these traveling kits. That is the benefit. So you use it, you drive demand using ready-to-go marketing, using MDF that you get for being a Microsoft partner, and then you can leverage these kits and really use it to close deals. We also have MTCs and MEC locations at our Microsoft offices, and so that is another benefit. So once you become MEC immersion qualified, there is the ability to also leverage these physical locations. So instead of the traveling kits that we would send, if you're in one of these metropolitan cities, you can leverage one of these instead. So that is one other benefit that is available. MEC Demo, as I mentioned before, let's talk about the requirements for that. All you have to do is be a Microsoft partner. You can get started. All of you can do this right now. Go to usmec.com, and then you'll be able to get access. And Steve will give a little bit more information about this in a moment. So we have a webcast that's coming up on May 26th, so we encourage you to download the deck. We'll make sure that this is available for all of you. But this is a means of helping you, learn how to demo and pitch Office 365 like a pro. So it's a great means if you're going to do the MEC demo to kind of get up to speed fairly quickly. So what are the call to actions? It's pretty simple. Whether it's MEC Demo or if it's becoming MEC Immersion Qualified, the links are right here. So if you're interested in MEC Demo and you want to get started today, go to usmec.com. If you are interested in becoming MEC Immersion Qualified, and you can be both, by the way, it's not one or the other, we encourage you to go to mec.brainstorm.com. Inc.com, just mentioning this verbally for some folks that may not be in the Skype for Business and can't see the deck, but go out to mec.brainstorminc.com and you'll see that there is a training session, 3.5-day training session in Atlanta towards the end of May, also one in Chicago and LA in June. So I'll take a brief pause, see if there's any questions from the group.
So, Patrick, there are a couple of questions that have come in.
Great.
Sarah asked if you can only get the MEC kit once a year. I assume that's the traveling kit.
The traveling kit. So not sure, Sarah. Was that a question or a statement?
That's a question.
Question. So you can get it as many times as you like. We have if you reach out to me, Sarah, or anyone on this call, if you reach out to us, we can get you the availability of these mobile kits. But we have partners already going into our fiscal year 2016 who are booking these back to back in order to start, planning. And I mean, they get reserved very quickly. So, Sarah, you can reserve these kits as many times as you like throughout the year.
Excellent. And of course, we were being asked if the slide deck would be available for download, and the answer is yes.
Absolutely. And two good questions.
Those are the only questions I see so far. So Patrick, I mean, what would you from your experience? You've worked with a lot of partners who've gone through the full immersion process. 3 days of training. Is there a particular market that you think, or a particular partner where that particular approach you see greater success? I mean, in other words, what are the gives and gets that you're really going to have to commit to if you go through that full training and go through that full process?
Well, certainly the time and travel,
the investment.
And expense.
Okay.
The investment. That's definitely number one. Two, once you go through it, right, there's that requirement that you do at least 4 workshops. That is one key thing that we'll look for you to do. Also, to supply the attendee list. Now, Microsoft cares about privacy. We're not going to call the customer, but we do want to measure the success of the program. So we'll ask, how many customers did you have trained? How many were registered? What were the successes that came out of it? And we want to aggregate those successes in a communication, typically internally, to be able to highlight the benefits of the program overall.
Yeah, we're certainly not going to share any of that information externally.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And what's really key, and what I see with partners doing, they are, some are very specific in terms of the vertical, the type of customer. It's very important that you're not necessarily bringing the most technical person to this workshop. It's really meant for perhaps the business leader, a decision maker, to be able to see how it can benefit. And that's really the shift in the cloud, right, and all the benefits there.
And so where then would you say the strength of doing the MEC demo would lie?
So MEC Demo, and again, to be clear with all the partners on the call, you can be, I have partners today that are MEC immersion qualified and also leverage MEC Demo. MEC Demo is perfect because, heck, you can put it on the thumb drive, go to our customer's physical location, meet with them, talk to them about Office 365, plug it into their computer, and then you can load up and run MEC Demo, MEC Lite, and actually do a demo one-on-one with them. So there's no requirement with equipment. It's very agile, very easy to use, but it can really be a great tool to be able to do a demo to one or to one to a few to really showcase the tool set.
So, and I don't want to hyper stereotype this, but frankly, I see the MEC demo as being a great solution for the small and medium partners on the call who don't have the business opportunity to make that deep investment in the training and the deep investment in dedicating a week to doing the full MEC experience demos, but are still looking. I mean, the reality is, getting somebody to try one of these technologies is always more valuable than just talking to them about it. So I don't care which technique you use, but you can always use the MEC demo. There's very little entry to getting into that MEC demo. So that's a really important, at least an important characteristic. We've had a few more questions. So how can we keep the MEC Lite account active for more than 90 days? You can't. That's just not available, and it's something that they brought it down. They originally it was a full year, and then they brought it down to 30 days, and we at least argued them back up to 90 days. But every 90 days, you're going to have to get another MEC Lite account allocated. But there are some new components, and I'm not sure you talked about the quick tool, did you, Patrick? Oop, you're on mute.
I did not.
You did not. Okay, so perhaps I should go into that. Is what you're trying to tell me? Is that your subtle way of saying, Steve? Why don't you take over at this point?
Go for it.
Go for it. So one of the things that I did want to mention before we got too much further, and I'm going to lower my resolution just so it's a little bit easier, a little bit faster for refresh. One of the things that I wanted to mention, though, is when it comes to the MEC demo, the MEC Lite environment, there are actually 4 scripts that are supported in the day in the life scenarios. The scripts are around staying organized, in other words, leveraging your Outlook and your calendar and things like that to keep yourself organized. Working from anywhere, that's all about the SharePoint and the communication and collaboration experience. Rallying your team, which is using the other collaboration tools above and beyond just SharePoint. And then the gaining key insights, which is focusing on the business intelligence type tools. So I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned those are scripts that are part of that MEC experience, but the reality is you can go off script. You don't have to use any of those things, and so that's part of what I think is really valuable. So let me go ahead and start presenting my desktop. And so the first thing that I always like to make sure that all partners understand is how to get to their MEC subscription. So as Patrick mentioned in his deck, it's found under usmec.com. And from the US MEC site, you're going to effectively log in as either a Microsoft customer, a Microsoft user, or a Microsoft partner. Of course, most of you are going to use the partner approach. I'm going to use the user approach because, of course, I am a Microsoft employee. So putting in my super secret credentials and super secret password. Hopefully I don't type it so that everybody can see it. And actually, more importantly, hopefully I type it right. And so that's going to get you into the MEC experience overall. And some of the things that you're going to see here is you're going to see the current status of your tenants. And I play with this a lot, so you'll just have to forgive me. These are some of my tenants that I've been working on. You're going to see the option to create a new tenant. You've got your support information, which includes how to get support if you're having a problem with MEC. You've got your other resources, which include the various scripts and things like that you need. And if you're doing the full MEC experience, you have the option of downloading on-premises virtual machines instead of using it online. Of course, just general documentation about this, and then other ways of communicating in the process. I spend most of my time down at this end, where I'm taking a look at a client, or I'm creating a new client. And the nice thing about this is it's really easy to create a new client. You can either create what we call a quick tenant, which is a predefined tenant. This is actually a relatively new feature. This is a predefined tenant that you can just say, I need it for this day, and then use it. And once you're using it, you get to do all of your experience, and then you give it up. It's only good for that day. The alternative is to go and create a tenant from scratch. And when you go to create a tenant from scratch, you can, like I said, you can create one from scratch, or you can use an existing tenant and refresh it. In other words, put the data back into an existing tenant. The idea being, though, when you're creating a new tenant, you're going to specify just a few key pieces of information. You're going to specify what content pack you're looking for. You're going to specify what your tenant name will be. That's, of course, a subdomain name to the onmicrosoft.com. I use the sequence of TS2 demo whatever, just because I'm, as we have already heard, every 90 days, got to set up a new tenant. So I just go ahead and do them sequentially. Just makes it easy for me to remember. And then, of course, you're going to do the whole authentication, the multi-factor authentication, get your code, get it back and start the provisioning process. I'm not going to do a provision now because I've got plenty of tenants to work with. I just wanted you to see that's what this experience is. And again, once you've provisioned this, your ultimate goal is to then start using it. And you can, of course, like I said, use the scripts, or you can do anything you want. So if we just jump out of this, I'm going to go ahead and open up another browser session here. And I'm interested in getting into the MEC environment or my demo environment. I do it in a very pedantic fashion because I want to make sure that my customers know that there's no special magic going on in here. So I always go through the Office 365 portal. And the reason I do the Office 365 portal, at least for me, is it does show the potential customer where they can go get more information on Office 365 on their own. This is, remember, we're trying to enable the customer to feel comfortable with doing their own exploration, their own experience, because that's what's really going to sell this, is a customer selling themselves. At least that's part of the sales process. I'm then going to go ahead and log in using an identity. In my case, I'm going to use one of the standard identities, and we provide a whole bunch of built-in identities. I always like using, well, and frankly, it's the one I learned to use, was Karen B. Karen Berg is the identity that I use. I can add a little humor to this, for the rest of the day, please call me Karen. But it makes a very clear distinction of who I am as a presenter and that I'm doing a demo for you right now because we're looking at Karen. And of course, I'm going to specify my username and rather the rest of my email address. So it's a ts2 demo07.onmicrosoft.com. Oops, Microsoft.com. Super secret password. Always recommend that you change that password, that you never leave it the same, but it's up to you as to what you change. And then you're going to get into your MEC experience overall. And the thing to do is to now help your customer through this process. In other words, don't do it for them. If they've got a computer sitting in front of them, get them to do this. Get them to log in as one of those users. As a matter of fact, there was one of my peers, Michael Copps, did a demonstration with some partners, and they suggested setting up little name tents in advance. In other words, use these predefined identities, create just a little name tent with each predefined identity and pass them out to everybody. And if you want to be gender specific, great. And if you don't, like I said, have fun with it. Bottom line is, everybody's going to play a different role. One person's going to be Karen, somebody else is going to be Eric, and everybody gets this role to be for the day. They get to log in, they've got the username, they've got the password, and then guide them through an experience. What would it be like using Office 365? What's it look like to come over here and get into email and take a look at your messages? And what's it look like to respond to some of those messages? Perhaps switching over to then looking at some calendar information, or looking over and looking at the other individuals in the organization. The point is, as you are doing this, what you're really doing is you're showing to the users, the potential users of this environment, what it's like to use the technology. Oh, I can send messages, and I can check free and busy, and I can send a calendar and a meeting invite, and I can join that meeting invite. And you also get them used to the fact that we've got this set of tools that are constantly available to you, and we get an opportunity to talk a little bit about the Outlook experience. We get to talk about the OneDrive for Business experience. We get to talk about the various SharePoint experiences. It always comes up, what's a Delve? And you should be able to answer that. What does Delve do for us around in finding out about what information people are working with and what kinds of projects they're working on and how that's shared. Let's show them, what does a Word online experience look like relative to Word installed on your desktop. We still believe that Word installed on your desktop is by far the best experience, but let's show these other things. You can follow the script and take you through all of that, or you can go off script. What I really enjoy, in addition, is I'll make sure I show up with an iPad, and I do have a Microsoft assigned iPad for this very purpose, but I'll then show how I can access those same documents that are in my OneDrive and those same tools that are available, the Word for the iPad and things like that, that I can show that experience across platform. And if they've got their own iPhones and iPads, get them to try those out as well. In other words, it's all about having the end users try these tools out, to try what you think is going to be most interesting to them, what's going to have the greatest traction in the conversation. I love it when we finally get to the opportunity of using Link, because I always do my Link demonstration. And I'm sorry, Patrick, you were supposed to stop me from saying Link. It's the Skype for Business demonstration. I always love doing the Skype for Business demonstration because all chaos breaks loose. In other words, people will do their own thing is subtly when they're doing email. They'll send little email messages to each other, and it's like passing notes in school. They'll do that, and they'll do that in a very subtle fashion. But as soon as you enable the Skype for Business interaction, well, now it's visual and it's verbal and it's my desktop and it's multiple people involved in a conversation. So I always do that demo last. But the idea is that what we're trying to do is get people involved with these tools, with these technologies, to have fun with them. So again, I think, Patrick, you've provided us really some great information. I will stop the recording and open this up for other questions.